When Paul stepped from the Earth shuttle the following day, Kira was waiting. He was not tall for a human with warm brown skin and thoughtful eyes. Nothing about him seemed impressive at first glance. Then he spoke. His ideas, his perspective on the universe, his questions about her world, all revealed a mind unlike any she had encountered. "Our differences are our strength," he told her as they walked the palace grounds. "What you see as human weakness, we see as challenges to overcome. What you accomplish with natural ability, we achieve through innovation." Kira found herself drawn to his quiet confidence. Unlike other humans who seemed nervous around her telekinetic abilities, Paul watched with genuine interest when she demonstrated her powers. "Can you explain what it feels like?" he asked. "To move objects with your mind?" No one had ever asked her that before. "It feels like extending my hand through space," she said, struggling to put the sensation into words. "As if my thoughts have physical form." Paul nodded, then pulled a small sketchbook from his pocket. With quick strokes, he drew a series of images, Kira with energy flowing from her mind, connecting to objects around her. The drawings captured something essential about her abilities that she had never seen expressed. "You understand?" she said. Surprised, he smiled. "I try to." Their conversation was interrupted by Tella rushing toward them. "Sister, you must come quickly. Father has received a message from the Vrexians." In the war room, King Zorax and his advisors gathered around a holographic projection. The image showed a Vrexian commander, his reptilian features twisted in what might have been a smile. "King Zorax," the Vrexian hissed, "your victory was temporary. We have captured your mining colony on Thora Moon. Surrender the throne, or we execute the colonists." The message ended. The room erupted in angry voices. "We cannot surrender," General Vox insisted. "The Vrexians will destroy us regardless." "But the colonists," Queen Alara protested. "There are children among them." Paul had followed Kira into the room. He stood quietly observing until King Zorax noticed him. "Human," the king addressed him. "You have military experience, yes? What would Earth forces do in this situation?" All eyes turned to Paul. Kira felt a strange mix of pride and concern. Paul stepped forward. "On Earth we have a saying, never negotiate with terrorists, but we also never abandon our people." He studied the star maps. "You need more information before deciding. How many colonists? What defenses do the Vrexians have in place? Are there any back channels for negotiation?" His questions were precise, practical. The Zelthran advisors exchanged glances. "The human thinks like a tactician," General Vox admitted grudgingly. Over the next hours, Paul worked alongside Zelthran military planners. His suggestions were unconventional by their standards, but potentially effective. "The Vrexians expect a frontal assault or surrender," he explained. "We give them neither." His plan combined a small strike team with diplomatic pressure from Earth and other allied worlds. While the Vrexians focused on defending against an expected direct attack, the strike team would infiltrate using mining tunnels that only the colonists knew about. "And I should lead this team," Paul concluded. Kira felt her heart's race with alarm. "That is suicide." Paul turned to her. "Not with the right team, and not with Zelthran abilities working alongside human ingenuity." King Zorax considered the plan. "Who would go with you?" "A mixed team," Paul suggested. "Humans and Zelthrans working together, including Princess Kira." The room fell silent. Kira stared at Paul in shock. "My daughter is not a warrior," King Zorax growled. "With respect, Your Majesty, her telekinetic abilities are the strongest I've seen. We need her skills to disable the security systems without alerting the Vrexians." Kira found her voice. "I will go." Her father started to object, but Kira continued. "This alliance depends on trust between our peoples. I will represent Zelthra in this mission." After much debate, the king reluctantly agreed. A team was formed. Paul and 2 human specialists along with Kira and 3 Zelthran elite guards. Their preparation was intensive. Paul trained Kira in human combat techniques while she taught him about Vrexian weaknesses. They worked together until their movements became synchronized, each anticipating the other's actions. During these sessions, Kira began to see what made humans unique. They lacked natural weapons, but their minds transformed anything into tools. They had no telekinesis, but their hands created technology that accomplished similar results. The night before the mission, Kira found Paul on a palace balcony, staring at the stars. "Are you afraid?" she asked. He smiled slightly. "Only a fool feels no fear before battle. But fear can sharpen your senses if you control it. My people believe fear is weakness. My people learned that denying fear is the real weakness. Acknowledging it helps you prepare." She moved closer to him. "There is something I must know, Paul Martinez. Did you volunteer for this mission to impress me, as part of your courtship?" His laugh surprised her. "Princess, I volunteered because I'm good at what I do. If that impresses you, all the better." His expression grew serious. "But I would never risk lives for courtship. That's not how humans show care." "How do humans show care, then?" His eyes met hers. "We listen, we learn, we stay." Even when things get difficult, something shifted between them in that moment, a connection deeper than political alliance. The next morning, their team departed secretly for Thora Moon. The journey took 16 hours in a stealth vessel. As they approached, Kira observed Paul, transforming, his casual manner replaced by focused intensity. He briefed the team one final time. "Remember, our priority is the colonists. No heroics, no revenge. We get our people out." They landed in a remote crater and made their way to an abandoned mining shaft. The tunnels were narrow and dark, forcing them to crawl in some sections. Kira had never experienced such confined spaces. "How are you doing?" Paul whispered when they paused to check their position. "I am managing," she replied, trying to control her breathing. He squeezed her hand briefly. "Almost there. The colonists' main habitat should be just ahead." They emerged into a maintenance area beneath the colony's central dome. Through ceiling grates, they could see Vrexian guards patrolling among Zelthran prisoners. The team split as planned, the Zelthran guards, creating a distraction at the power generators while Paul, Kira, and the human specialists moved to free the colonists. Everything depended on timing and Kira's ability to disable electronic locks simultaneously. As alarms blared from the far side of the colony, she concentrated on the security panel. "Now, Kira," Paul whispered. The royal palace of Zelthra glowed under 3 moons as Princess Kira stared at her reflection in the polished crystal mirror. Her purple skin shimmered with tiny scales that caught the light. She adjusted the formal headdress that framed her elegant face and slender neck ridges. Today was not a day for celebration despite her elaborate attire. King Zorax had made his decree final. All 5 of his daughters must wed humans to secure the new alliance between Earth and Zelthra. Kira, as the eldest, would be first. "This is madness," Kira whispered to her sister Tella, who sat nearby weaving luminescent threads through her hair tendrils. "Humans are so fragile. How could Father think this will work?" Tella shrugged her slender shoulders. "Have you seen the delegation that arrived yesterday? Some of them looked strong enough. Strong for humans, perhaps, but they lack our abilities." To demonstrate, Kira lifted her hand, and a small decorative bowl floated across the room. Telekinesis was common among Zelthran royalty. A soft chime announced the arrival of the human delegation escort. The sisters exchanged glances before following their attendant down the crystal hallway. The throne room buzzed with activity. King Zorax sat, tall on his crystalline throne, his massive frame dwarfing the Earth ambassador beside him. 5 human women stood in a line before them, each wearing formal Earth diplomatic uniforms. "My daughters," King Zorax announced, "meet the human representatives. They will help select suitable mates for you among their kind." Kira studied the humans with interest. Their skin tones varied from pale to deep brown, but none had the purple hue of Zelthrans. One human stepped forward. "I am Susan Miller, Chief Diplomat from Earth. These are my colleagues, Diane Brown, Kate Wilson, Laura Green, and Amy Young. Each woman nodded as she was introduced. Susan continued, "We understand this arrangement is unusual for both our peoples, but we believe it will strengthen our alliance." Unusual? Kira could not contain herself. It is unprecedented. No Zelthran royal has ever made it outside our species. King Zorax rumbled a warning. "Daughter, remember your place." Susan smiled diplomatically. "Your concerns are valid, Princess. That is why we have brought profiles of our finest men. Warriors, scientists, diplomats, all exceptional examples of humanity." Later that day, Kira sat in the royal garden reviewing holographic profiles of potential human mates. Most seemed unremarkable to her eyes. Too small, too weak, lacking any natural defenses. "This is hopeless," she told Tella. A shadow fell across the garden path. Both princesses looked up to see Susan approaching. "May I join you?" the human asked. Kira gestured to a crystal bench. "I sense your reluctance," Susan said, sitting down carefully on the alien furniture. "But there is something you should know about humans that might not be in those profiles. What could possibly make them worthy mates for Zelthran royalty?" Kira asked. Susan smiled. "We may seem weak compared to your people. You have superior strength, telekinesis, longer lives. But humans have something unique in this galaxy: adaptability." Adaptability? "We evolved on a planet of constant change and challenge. When faced with impossible situations, humans find a way. Always." Susan leaned forward. "There is a saying on Earth: pressure creates diamonds." Before Kira could respond, alarms blared throughout the palace. Guards rushed into the garden. "What happens?" Kira demanded. "Attack, Your Highness," the guard captain reported. "Vrexian warships have breached our outer defenses." Kira felt cold fear spread through her body. The Vrexians, ancient enemies of Zelthra, known for their brutality. Susan was already on her feet, communicating through her wrist device. "Earthfleet, this is Miller. Royal Palace under attack. Deploy Defense Protocol 7. Within minutes, the sky filled with smaller ships, Earth fighters engaging the Vrexian vessels. The human pilots executed maneuvers that seemed impossible, weaving between Vrexian energy blasts. "How do they fly like that?" Tella whispered. "Human reflexes," Susan explained. "Different from yours, but effective in their own way." The battle intensified. Palace shields began to fail under Vrexian bombardment. King Zorax ordered evacuation to the underground bunkers. As they hurried through crystal corridors, a section of ceiling collapsed ahead, blocking their path. Kira tried moving the debris with her telekinesis, but the pieces were too large and numerous. "Let me," said Diane, one of the human women. She examined the rubble quickly, then began shifting pieces strategically, creating a passage. "Engineering, background," she explained as she worked. "It's about leverage, not strength." They made it through just as another explosion rocked the palace. In the bunker, communications showed the battle going poorly. Vrexian troops had landed and were approaching the palace. "They want the royal family," King Zorax said grimly. "An old vendetta." Kate, another of the human women, studied the tactical displays. "We need a diversion, something unexpected." She turned to Kira. "Your Highness, can your telekinesis affect electronic systems?" "I can disrupt energy flows," Kira admitted. "Perfect." Kate outlined a plan that combined Zelthran abilities with human tactics. What followed was chaos. The human women coordinated with Earth forces, creating diversions that confused the Vrexian troops, while Kira and her sisters used their telekinetic powers in ways they never had before. Laura Green, a human biologist, quickly synthesized a compound that reacted with Zelthran biochemistry to temporarily enhance their abilities. Amy Young, a communications expert, jammed Vrexian signals using patterns based on Zelthran mental energy frequencies. Working together, humans and Zelthrans drove back the Vrexian forces. The enemy retreated, their carefully planned assault broken by strategies they had never encountered. When it was over, King Zorax gazed at the human women with new respect. Perhaps, he said slowly, there is wisdom in this alliance after all. Kira looked at the humans differently too. They lacked physical power, yet their minds were remarkable, creative, adaptable, determined. Later that night she reviewed the profiles again, this time noticing details she had overlooked. One in particular caught her attention, a human named Paul Martinez, an artist and former military strategist. Interesting combination, she murmured. Susan found her in the garden again the next morning. Have you reconsidered? The human diplomat asked. Kira nodded slowly. I wish to meet Paul Martinez. Susan smiled. He arrives tomorrow. Kira extended her mind into the electronic systems, feeling the energy flows like rivers she could redirect. One by one, the security doors unlocked with soft clicks. Paul and the human specialists moved quickly, guiding colonists toward the escape tunnels. Kira maintained her focus on the security system, keeping alarm sensors dormant despite the movement. Last group coming through, Paul reported over their communication link. Suddenly, a Vrexian commander appeared with 4 guards. They spotted the escaping colonists immediately. Intruders, the commander snarled. Kira had no time to think. She redirected her telekinetic energy, lifting the Vrexians off their feet and slamming them against the ceiling. I cannot hold them long, she warned, feeling her strength draining. You don't need to, Paul replied. He tossed small devices toward the stunned Vrexians. The devices activated with a flash, encasing the enemies in rapidly hardening foam. Kira released her mental hold, amazed. What is that substance? Containment foam. Non-lethal, but effective. Paul grinned. Human ingenuity at work. They rushed the final colonists through the tunnels. Just as they reached the end, an explosion rocked the colony above them. The Vrexians had discovered their main distraction team. The guards, Kira gasped. We must help them. Paul checked, his tactical display. They're falling back to extraction point 2. We need to move. More explosions followed as they led the colonists toward their hidden ship. The ground shook, dust filling the air. A child stumbled ahead of Kira. Without thinking, she used her telekinesis to catch the child mid-fall and pull her safely forward. Paul organized the colonists into the transport ship, while Kira and the human specialists provided cover. The Zelthran guards arrived, one injured but all alive. Vrexians are right behind us, their leader reported. As if to confirm his words, enemy fire struck nearby, showering them with debris. Everyone aboard, Paul ordered. Kira, we need a shield. Kira had never attempted a telekinetic shield of such size, but she focused her mind, creating a barrier between their ship and the approaching Vrexians. Sweat beaded on her skin as she maintained the protection. Paul pulled her backward toward the ship's ramp. Just a few more seconds, he encouraged. The ship's engines roared to life. Kira felt her consciousness dimming from the strain. But Paul's voice anchored her. You can do this, Kira. Just a little longer. With a final surge of effort, she expanded the shield as the ship lifted off. Then darkness claimed her. She woke to find herself in the ship's medical bay, Paul sitting beside her. The colonists? She asked immediately. All safe. The guards too. His face showed relief. You were incredible. I have never pushed my abilities so far. She tried to sit up but felt strangely weak. Easy, Paul cautioned. Using your telekinesis? That way drained your energy reserves. The doctor says you need rest. She studied his face, noting small cuts and bruises. You are injured. He shrugged. Nothing serious. Humans heal quickly. You fought well. She hesitated, then added, better than I expected from a human. Paul laughed. I'll take that as a compliment. News of their successful mission spread quickly. By the time they returned to Zelthra, they were greeted as heroes. King Zorax himself waited on the landing platform, embracing Kira with rare public emotion. My daughter, I feared for you. Father, we succeeded because of Paul and his team. Humans and Zelthrans together accomplished what neither could alone. The king turned to Paul, towering over the human. You have my gratitude, Paul Martinez of Earth. Ask what you will as reward. Paul bowed respectfully. I seek no reward beyond strengthening our alliance, Your Majesty. Later, during the celebration feast, Kira found Paul alone on a balcony, watching fireworks illuminate the night sky. You could have asked for anything, she said. Riches, position, land. I have what I need. He smiled at her. Besides, I'm still hoping to win something more valuable. And what might that be? The trust of a certain princess. His eyes held hers, a princess who might one day consider me worthy of courtship despite my human limitations. Kira felt warmth spreading through her chest. Those limitations seemed less significant now. They stood together, watching the celebrations. Something had changed between them. Respect had grown into admiration, perhaps more. Days passed and the formal courtship process began. As the eldest princess, Kira's choice would set precedent for her sisters. Traditional Zelthran customs were adapted to accommodate human physiology. Paul studied their language and history, showing genuine interest in her culture. Kira found herself increasingly drawn to his perspective. He saw patterns she missed, approached problems with methods she would never have considered. During one courtship ritual, they sat in the sacred garden where couples traditionally shared their ancestral memories. Since humans had no such abilities, Paul had prepared something different. On Earth, we share stories instead of memories, he explained, taking out his sketchbook. These are drawings of my childhood home, my parents, the places that shaped me. The images captured emotions as clearly as any telepathic sharing. His father's quiet strength, his mother's artistic nature, the desert landscape where he grew up. You communicate through art, Kira realized. It is your form of memory sharing, one of many ways humans connect. Paul turned to a new page. This is how I see you. The drawing showed Kira not just as she appeared physically, but somehow captured. Her essence, strength and vulnerability, power and grace. You see more than most Zelthrans do, she admitted softly. Their courtship faced opposition from conservative factions. Some council members argued that hybrid children might weaken royal bloodlines. Others feared humans would gain too much influence. During a formal court session, an elder counselor challenged Paul directly. How can you offer worthy offspring to continue our royal line? Hybrid children may lack our abilities. Paul remained calm. On Earth, we believe strength comes from diversity, not purity. New combinations create new potential. He turned to address the full council. Consider what our different strengths accomplished against the Vrexians. Now imagine those combined. Strengths in future generations. Whispers spread through the chamber. Kira felt pride watching him stand firm before her people. That evening, as they walked through the bioluminescent royal gardens, Paul seemed troubled. What concerns you? Kira asked. Am I selfish to pursue you? His voice was quiet. Your people have valid concerns about our biological compatibility. Science can address those concerns, Kira replied. Both our worlds have advanced genetic technology. But that's not the only issue, is it? You would outlive me by centuries. Kira stopped, turning to face him. Paul, do you know why Zelthrans live so long? He shook his head. We evolved on a world where change happens slowly. Our biology adapted to match. But this creates a problem. We resist change, even when it's necessary. We think in terms of centuries while the galaxy moves faster. She touched his face gently. Humans embrace change. You see possibilities where we see only risks. Perhaps that is exactly what my people need. As their courtship progressed, broader political events threatened their growing relationship. Reports arrived of Vrexian forces gathering near Zelthran space. Some believed they sought revenge for the rescue mission. The Royal Council convened an emergency session. Representatives from Earth joined them, including Susan Miller. The Vrexians have increased patrols along their borders, General Vox reported. Intelligence suggests they plan a major offensive. King Zorax turned to the Earth delegates. What support can we expect from your world? Our fleet stands ready, Susan assured him. but we should consider diplomatic options first. Paul had been invited to attend as Kira's formal suitor. He listened carefully before speaking. The Vrexians responded to our rescue mission with unusual aggression. This suggests we disrupted something important to them. Kira noticed how the council members now paid attention when Paul spoke. His previous actions had earned their respect. "What are you suggesting?" asked the king. "I believe they were using your colonists for something specific. We should examine everything we know about that mining operation." Research revealed the colony had recently discovered unusual crystal formations with properties unlike any known material. Samples in the Royal Laboratory showed the crystals could amplify energy. "This could revolutionize our technology," Tella exclaimed, examining the readings. "Or their weapons," Paul added grimly. Further investigation confirmed Paul's suspicion. The Vrexians had been forcing colonists to mine these crystals for weapons development. The rescue had cut off their supply. They will attack other mining colonies, Kira realized. They need these crystals. A plan formed to defend vulnerable locations while searching for diplomatic leverage. Earth ships were faster, while Zelthran vessels had stronger shields. Working together, they created a defensive network around key systems. Paul was assigned to coordinate between human and Zelthran forces. The position recognized his unique understanding of both cultures. The night before he departed for the command station, Paul and Kira stood on her private balcony. 3 moons illuminated the crystal city below. "I wish I could go with you," Kira said. "Your father needs you here, and Zelthran tradition demands you complete the courtship rituals." She took his hands in hers. "Promise you will return safely." "I promise to try." His smile was gentle. "Humans can't predict the future, but we're very determined." She leaned forward and pressed her forehead to his in the traditional Zelthran gesture of deep affection. Paul responded by gently cupping her face and kissing her in the human way. "Our cultures have different customs," he whispered, "but some feelings translate perfectly." After Paul's departure, Kira threw herself into preparations for potential conflict. She worked with Zelthran scientists to develop applications for the newly discovered crystals, focusing on defensive technologies. Tella joined her in the laboratory. "You miss him," she observed. Kira nodded. "I never expected to feel this way about a human. Father's law may have been wiser than we thought." Tella examined a crystal sample. "My diplomatic studies show the most successful alliances throughout galactic history involved personal connections, not just treaties." Reports came regularly from the border defenses. Paul's integrated command was functioning well, with human and Zelthran officers learning from each other. 2 weeks later, Vrexian forces made their move. A massive fleet emerged from hyperspace near an outlying Zelthran mining world, but the Allied defenses were ready, having anticipated their target. Kira monitored communications from the palace war room. The battle unfolded across tactical displays. Earthships executed complex maneuvers while Zelthran vessels absorbed enemy fire with powerful shields. "They fight well together," King Zorax noted, watching human captains coordinate seamlessly with Zelthran commanders. Then a transmission came, through from Paul's command station. The image showed smoke and damaged equipment. Paul appeared, his uniform torn and face smudged. "Zelthran command, we've taken heavy damage. The Vrexians targeted us specifically." He coughed as smoke filled the air around him. "They've deployed a new weapon using the amplifier crystals." "Paul?" Kira moved closer to the screen. "What is your status?" "Shields failing. We've evacuated most personnel, but I'm staying to coordinate retreat." The transmission began breaking up. "Kira, The screen went dark. "Re-establish contact," Kira demanded. Communications officers worked frantically but could not reconnect. "The entire sector is experiencing interference," they reported. "The crystal-based weapon is disrupting all signals." Kira turned to her father. "I must go to him." "King," Zorax shook his head. "It is too dangerous. Father, Paul risked everything to save our people. We cannot abandon him." For a long moment, the king studied his daughter. Then he nodded slowly. "Take my personal shuttle. It has experimental shielding that might withstand the interference. The journey to the command station took 6 hours through dangerous space. Kira piloted the shuttle herself, using her telekinesis to enhance her reaction time. Vrexian patrols forced her to take evasive routes extending the journey. When she finally approached the station, she found it severely damaged but intact. The surrounding space showed evidence of fierce battle, debris from ships of all 3 species floating. In silent testimony, docking proved difficult with the station's systems malfunctioning. Kira used her abilities to physically guide the connection ports together. Inside, emergency lighting cast red shadows through smoke-filled corridors. Most sections were abandoned, life support failing. "Paul!" she called, moving deeper into the station. "Paul Martinez!" She found injured crew members, both human and Zelthran, in a makeshift medical area. A human doctor looked up in surprise. "Princess Kira, you shouldn't be here." "Where is Commander Martinez?" The doctor pointed toward the command center, still trying to get the communications array back online. He refused to evacuate until everyone else was safe. Kira rushed through the corridors, using her telekinesis to clear fallen debris. The command center doors were jammed. She focused her mind, forcing the heavy panels apart. Inside, she found Paul working beneath a console, rewiring systems as the ceiling sparked dangerously above him. "Paul," he turned, disbelief crossing his features. "Kira? How did you get here?" "Did you think I would leave you?" She moved to his side, examining his injuries. A deep cut ran along his forehead and his arm was bandaged crudely. "You shouldn't have come," he said, but his eyes revealed his true feelings. "It's too dangerous." That seems to be where humans and Zelthrans work best together. She helped him stand. "My shuttle is docked. We must evacuate the remaining crew." Together, they organized the final evacuation, transferring injured personnel to the Royal Shuttle. Its advanced medical systems could sustain them until they reached safety. As they prepared to depart, warning alarms blared throughout the station. "Reactor breach imminent," the computer announced. 5 minutes to critical failure. Paul checked the system readouts. "The damage is worse than we thought. This whole station is going to explode. Then we must leave immediately." "There's a problem." He pointed to the shuttle's power readings. "Your vessel doesn't have enough energy to break free of the interference field with this many passengers." Kira realized what he was suggesting. "No, I will not leave you behind." "It's simple mathematics, Princess." His voice was calm. "I can remain and use the station's remaining power to create a corridor through the interference. That will give the shuttle enough boost to escape." "There must be another way." Paul took her hands. "Sometimes there isn't. This is why alliances matter, so we can protect each other's people." Kira felt tears forming, a rare occurrence for her species. Then she remembered the crystals in her research kit. "The amplifier crystals," she said suddenly. "Could they boost the shuttle's power?" Paul's eyes widened. "Theoretically, yes. But we'd need to integrate them with the engine systems instantly. There's no time for proper installation." "There is time if we work together," Kira insisted. She opened her research case, revealing several glowing crystal shards. "My telekinesis can position them precisely while you handle the technical integration." Paul hesitated only a moment before nodding. It might work. They rushed to the shuttle's engine room. The injured crew watched anxiously as Paul opened access panels while Kira prepared the crystals. 3 minutes to critical failure, the station computer reminded them. "The crystals need to align with the primary energy conduits," Paul explained, pointing to barely accessible components deep within the engine housing. "Perfect alignment is essential, or they could overload instead of amplify." Kira concentrated, using her telekinesis to float the delicate crystal shards through the narrow openings. Following Paul's instructions, she positioned each one with microscopic precision. 2 minutes to critical failure. Paul worked frantically, rewiring connections to channel power through the newly placed crystals. His hands moved with practiced efficiency despite his injuries. "Almost there," he muttered. "Just need to calibrate the flow regulators." 1 minute to critical failure. The final connections were made. Paul closed the access panel and rushed to the cockpit with Kira. He initiated the engine startup sequence while she prepared for emergency departure. 30 seconds to critical failure. The shuttle's engines hummed to life, energy readings climbing rapidly as the crystals began amplifying. Power. It's working, Kira breathed. Paul guided the shuttle away from the docking port. Hold on. This will be rough. As they pulled away from the station, the interference field hit them like a physical barrier. The shuttle shuddered violently. Full power to engines, Paul shouted. Kira channeled her telekinesis into the crystals, willing them to maintain their alignment under stress. The shuttle's structure groaned under the strain. Behind them, the station began breaking apart as the reactor reached critical levels. We're not going to clear the blast radius in time, Paul warned. Kira made a split-second decision. She extended her telekinetic field around the entire shuttle, creating a protective bubble just as the station exploded. The shockwave hit them with tremendous force. Inside the cockpit, equipment sparked and failed. Kira felt her consciousness fading as she struggled to maintain the protective field. The last thing she heard was Paul calling her name. Kira awoke in the Royal Medical Center on Zelthra. The familiar crystal ceiling came slowly into focus. She tried to sit up but found herself too weak. Be still, my daughter. Queen Alara's voice came from beside her. Your body needs time to recover. Paul? Kira asked immediately. The crew? All safe, thanks to you. The Queen smiled. Your human showed remarkable piloting skills after you lost consciousness. He managed to navigate the damaged shuttle to a safe landing. Relief flooded through Kira. Where is he now? Recovering, like you. Human physiology is surprisingly resilient. 3. Days passed before Kira was strong enough to leave her medical chamber. Her first destination was Paul's recovery room. She found him sitting up in bed, sketching on a tablet. He looked up as she entered, his face brightening. My hero arrives. I believe we saved each other, she replied, sitting beside him. His expression grew serious. The doctors tell me using your abilities that way could have killed you. And staying on the station would certainly have killed you. She took his hand. It seems we both take risks for those we care about. News arrived that the battle had turned decisively in favor of the Allied forces. The Vrexians, after losing their secret weapon and facing unexpected resistance, had requested peace talks. King Zorax himself came to visit them both. Your actions have changed the course of this conflict, he told them. The Vrexians have seen what humans and Zelthrans can accomplish together. The peace negotiations proceeded rapidly. Provisions included regulated sharing of the crystal technology for peaceful purposes and protection for all mining colonies. As they recovered, Paul and Kira completed the formal courtship rituals. Public opinion had shifted dramatically in favor of their union. The rescue of the colonists and their heroism during the battle had captured the imagination of both worlds. On the day Paul was released from medical care, Kira took him to a special place within the palace grounds, the sacred pool where royal marriages had been celebrated for thousands of years. It is tradition for couples to cast wish stones into these waters before their union, she explained, handing him a small crystal. The stone represents your deepest hopes for your shared future. Paul held the crystal thoughtfully. And what happens if our hopes align? The stones will glow with matching light when they touch the water. He smiled. Is that science or superstition? Perhaps a bit of both, she admitted. The waters contain minerals that react to thought patterns embedded in the crystals by our touch. But the alignment of hopes? That is beyond explanation. They stood at the edge of the luminescent pool, the crystal stones warm in their hands. 3, Paul suggested. Together they cast their stones into the water. For a moment nothing happened as the crystals sank beneath the surface. Then simultaneously, they began to glow with identical golden light, brightening until the entire pool shimmered. That has never happened before, Kira whispered. The legends speak of matching light, but not this intensity. Paul took her hand. Maybe it's because our hopes include more than just ourselves. We both wish for our peoples to find strength together. The formal announcement of their betrothal took place a week later. King Zorax proclaimed it before representatives from both worlds. "From this union we forge a new future," the king declared. "My daughter Princess Kira and Paul Martinez of Earth will lead the way for others to follow." Kira's sisters watched with new interest. Tella had already begun spending time with a human scientist who specialized in xenobiology. The king's law no longer seemed like a burden, but an opportunity. The night before their wedding ceremony, Kira and Paul stood on the Royal Observatory platform, watching the 3 moons of Zelthra align in a rare celestial event. "Your father told me this alignment happens only once every 3 centuries, Paul said. "Yes, the last time, our people were isolated, unaware of humans or other intelligent species." Kira gazed at the moons. "The next time, our children's children will see it, children who will have the best of both worlds," Paul added softly. "Zelthran abilities with human adaptability. And most importantly, understanding of both cultures." She turned to face him. "That is what truly matters, not just biological advantages, but perspective." Paul nodded. "That's the real strength of our alliance. Not just what we can do together, but what we can learn from each other." As the moons reached perfect alignment, casting triple shadows across the crystal city, Paul took Kira's hand. "You know, on Earth we have a saying, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts." Kira smiled. "On Zelthra we say that true strength comes not from power, but from balance. It seems our worlds have wisdom to share too. Their wedding united not just 2 people but 2 civilizations. Ancient Zelthran rituals were woven with human traditions, creating something new and meaningful to both cultures. Representatives from dozens of worlds attended, sensing the historic significance. When they spoke their vows beneath the crystal dome of the Grand Temple, the words were both traditional and revolutionary. Their promise to honor each other's differences while building on their shared strengths resonated beyond their personal commitment. King Zorax, watching his eldest daughter join her life with a human from a distant world, reflected on his decision. What had begun as a political strategy had evolved into something far more significant, a genuine bridge between different ways of being. In the years that followed, the other princesses did indeed find their own human partners, each relationship unique yet following the path Kira and Paul had pioneered. Their children grew up embodying the best of both species, telekinetic abilities paired with human creativity, Zelthran longevity with human passion for change. When the Vrexians eventually tested the alliance again, they faced not just a military response but a civilization transformed by the integration of human and Zelthran approaches. The combination proved more powerful than either would have been alone, and on quiet evenings Kira and Paul would sometimes recall their first meetings, her skepticism, his determination, and the unexpected journey that had brought them together. "Did you ever imagine this outcome when your father announced his law?" Paul would ask. Kira would smile, her purple skin shimmering in the moonlight. "Never, but humans taught me something important about the universe." "What's that?" "The most beautiful possibilities are often the ones we cannot foresee."